everybody. This is Alicia, Liz, and Ant, and we are Servant Decoded. All right, guys, this week we are here to discuss and break down Season 3, Episode 9, entitled Commitment, written by Lauren Marks and C. Henry Chasson, and directed by Veronica Franz and Severin Fiala. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Have you made it through another week without your brains exploding?
I'm not okay. You're not. No one's okay.
No one's
I'm not okay. And after our little pre-pod discussion, I'm really not okay.
Oh, you guys, wait till you hear what we've. Goodness.
Everything is bad. Not bad. Everything's really intense.
You know, I think it's one of those situations, and I can't take credit for like this exact wording because somebody said this on Reddit, but I did agree with them that they felt like we have sort of all the puzzle pieces. It's just hard to know how to put them together yet because we don't necessarily know what we're supposed to be looking for to put together.
I don't even know that we have all the pieces, which is even scarier, but it seems like it's coming together more and more.
Yeah. Well, how did you guys feel about this episode? What was your it's called Commitment, which lends to many meanings. So Liz, what were some of your thoughts, or Ant too, but some of your thoughts on the title and how that plays into this week?
You know, the primary, Dorothy trying to get Leanne committed. And I think the major takeaway of the title is Leanne's commitment to the family and to her goals, or to her goal of being a member of the Turner family. That deal that they made at the end of season 2, you get Jericho, you get to keep Jericho, and I get to be a member of the family. That's how I took it.
Yeah, it reminds me back when Julian said to Sean in season 1 that the longer this thing stays here, thing meaning, well, I don't know if he meant Leanne or the baby or,
the situation or,
but it felt like he meant the baby, as long as this thing stays here, like the more it's going to cost you is what he says.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Important.
Definitely seems to be playing out that way for sure. Okay, so let's just start at the beginning, and there's lots of rabbit holes here, so forgive us if we fall down a few along the way. We're going to do our best to be as linear as we can, but I don't know that the show's that linear.
Careful, rabbit holes ahead.
Exactly. And we're sort of right where we left off at the end of the previous episode. Isabel has just been shot on live TV, and everybody's sort of reacting from that. Her dad leaves with Courtney with a K, and Dorothy is trying to gather herself on the back patio when Leanne comes out to talk with her, and their conversation is interesting.
Well, did you notice that Courtney seemed annoyed with Dorothy?
I did.
As if Dorothy had Isabel shot. Invite me over for a nice dinner and look what you made me go through.
No, I know. I thought that was interesting too, as though she was angry with her for some reason. Or I didn't know really how to take that.
She just has that air about her anyway, with everything. It seems like she's like one of those very young, very moneyed people, just like,
She's just
everything is everything. Yeah, exactly. She's very surface. Like her description is Courtney with a K.
Yeah. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Well, and probably also just being in the insanity of that family is overwhelming.
I just wonder what her relationship with him is like.
I know.
If they even have one.
Yeah. The whole sugar daddy trophy wife.
It's probably just that. Like, I can't imagine them. I don't know too much about Frank either, but it doesn't seem like they could have too much of a conversation.
Maybe she's an amazing pickleball player.
Is that a euphemism?
That too. She's got great pickleballs.
Yeah.
We can't resist a good innuendo.
So I'm sorry, I waylaid you off the path of Dorothy and Leanne in the back.
So they're on the back porch, and I don't know. I personally found, and I find some of these conversations frustrating when we talk around what's really going on as opposed to being direct. So again, Dorothy was obviously confused as because okay, so she says to Leanne that she seemed pleased, right? So that was disturbing to her, but she doesn't. The look, in our opinion, reflected like a realization, but then cut to the back porch and she doesn't really confront that part of it. She just says you looked pleased. So maybe her look was more scared and horrified that Leanne looked pleased.
I don't think this is fair. Like I said this every week, but it seemed like they kind of did have that conversation and she didn't really want, not that she didn't want to get it because she clearly didn't get it, but it was like, oh, like what did you mean when you said you helped? And then
Yeah.
And then she follows it up immediately with like, don't feel like it's your fault, as opposed to like,
yeah,
what do you mean by that?
Right.
But like,
why are we not asking? Like, why are they not?
They didn't let her answer it really. Not that she would have, but it was like kind of just stepped on and like, well, don't take that on yourself. That like things happen in a sympathetic direction.
Do you think that's just like more of this avoiding the things that we don't want to talk about, or do you think that's just a story device to the fact that we still have a season to go, or what
Yeah, I think if they intend, it's just, I guess, because I don't think they'll ever really get to whether or not Leanne is specifically doing I mean, it's pretty clear she is, but like, the plausible deniability of all of it. I think they want to keep that up as long as possible, but now they're getting real close to the point where it's starting to like, I mean, it makes sense, but she's right on the edge of how it happened. Dorothy, I mean.
Yeah, Dorothy's on the edge of a lot this season. But yeah, I mean, if Dorothy were to come out and say, you said you wanted to help, did you have anything to do with this?
Oh.
I imagine that would be a can of worms that she would not want to open.
I would imagine she's probably not even able to, even though she kind of did. Like, it seems like that's not something she's even entertaining.
Perhaps it's because if she asks that question, that leads to the question of Jericho.
It could be that, but she also can't confront her brother and or husband on what's going on. If someone is, they're both blatantly like obviously hiding something, and she's at least kind of aware of that. So like, why not pin one of them down and be like, well,
I mean, she somewhat tried with Sean.
She tried, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he did some more gaslighting.
And she even says that directly to us.
Yeah. I feel for her because, and I know some people probably don't think that there's certainly discussion about, whether or not we should feel sorry for Dorothy. I mean, if someone is begging you for the truth repeatedly, which at this point she seems to be doing.
And she's already, like, no matter what happens after the fact, like, living in this bubble of like, oh, I still have I mean, you can have a baby, whatever. Like, I mean, she could keep Jericho indefinitely or whatever happens to happen. Well, even at this point, like, what would finding out that he died?
Well, yeah.
No, I know it's the break of it.
Speaking of Julian pseudo telling her early on, and she didn't accept it. So I guess they do kind of know, like, if we tell her, she's still not going to accept it. She's going to have to come to this on her own. She's going to have to like remember and know it on her own.
Right. But other than grief and getting through that or not getting through it, like what is the big to do?
Well, the big to do is that she might end up catatonic as she was.
Well, no, of course. But if you're in a position to help somebody, like, I mean, I don't know. Now I'm just like breaking it apart. Like it's not a television show, but like it's just. There are so many things you can do with money, even if you don't want to be directly involved. Like, if you have the money, you could just be like, okay, this happened. And then, like, what are we gaining from this constant?
Right.
I think the Turners are very much, I think we've learned that they're very much all about surface appearance. Dorothy's a local celebrity. Sean's a burgeoning celebrity.
Jericho's an ornament. We know. I
think they would worry about the optics. But I also think the way that, I think the way that Dorothy and Julian were raised, it was very much, you sweep it up, sweep the dirt under the rug, keep it there. You don't air your dirty laundry, and we don't talk about things that are upsetting.
Yeah, have a drink or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I believe that Dorothy, and I think that would explain in part why Dorothy responded the way that she did. I mean, such a horrific incident.
Oh, for sure. No, absolutely. But that's not.
To carry the weight of that responsibility, but Dorothy's repressed it for a reason, and I think everyone, including Dorothy, is afraid of what would happen when that repression lifts, when she's faced with the truth. Not to mention, what does that mean about the baby that they have right now?
And if that's the case, like, I mean, to take it back one further, like, what exactly is it about the baby that you like? I mean, other than the image of it, like, what is it? Like, where is the, oh boy.
I
Like,
think we fell down one of those rabbit holes.
like, what is, like, I understand you had the baby and it's your baby and like, oh, it's me and motherhood and all, but like, what is your connection to the, like, it's just that, like, just until recently, like up until recently, they don't even really, like, she had the mommy and me thing and then like in the pool, but like there's not much of a like, let's teach the baby things or like let's,
Yeah,
Like you said multiple
you don't
times,
see that a
Matt, there's a
lot.
lot of there's a lot of using Jericho as an accessory, like
Hmm.
we pointed out multiple times. Yeah.
Hmm. So like, just be happy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, they've got this second chance in Jericho 2.0, and they just don't want to mess it up. Let's just keep going. And
And then,
as Sean is always saying, why can't we just enjoy
oh,
what we have and be happy?
right, that's
Why
fair.
would we keep causing problems? And let's just be happy. Let's just enjoy what we have.
We
Period.
can't even do that.
But doesn't that point to just like how if we are not truly happy within ourselves, then nothing external is going to really provide lasting happiness. We can't put our happiness wrapped up in something else that's not coming from within.
Hmm. Like, if that's the case,
I mean, it's
like
easier said than done, but
yeah, and if like all the imagery and attention like isn't enough, and even the baby that you have as a replacement or the resurrection of the baby you lost is like, like if the artifice of the thing is just as important of the thing as the thing, like what are we really, like, what are you really doing? Like, what is it really that it is, that it's just that, like, oh, you have to have all of these specific milestones of life to seem like a certain,
mm-hmm.
and to who? Yourself? Your husband who's already in on your nonsense? Or what is the whole thing? Just like, because there's nothing behind that.
Right, exactly.
I think what we're seeing Land doing a lot of is trying to be the glue that keeps it all together, of just be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And let me smooth out the wrinkles, such as Isabel, and I will help you be happy. Let me do my job.
Yeah, I'm here to protect you. You're safe. We're safe. Everybody's safe. Let's just go on. And like, I've given you this gift. Now shut up and be happy.
Exactly.
But you don't even want that.
And I think that can be seen as a metaphor for Dorothy's repression. She knows that something's missing.
But is it?
Well, and if we also, I mean, you think about Julian and his battle with addiction.
That's fun. Not fun, but I mean,
like, yeah, well, I mean, and
it's
like, it's not like you can't satiate an addict eventually, right? So, and again, we've talked repeatedly about how his addiction, he keeps shifting from one to another, and that's common. So that's just another example of him looking to things outside of himself that are not sustainable and healthy for him.
We don't
even if they are healthy, it's not sustainable or whatever,
We don't even really know much about him.
Yeah, no, we don't.
To be honest with you, like,
we don't know a lot about a lot of things.
So like, it's hard to even say that. Like, that's probably besides the point, though. We don't really get into that. It's just interesting how everybody has these things that, like,
and everything's so self-contained, obviously, within the house for a reason, whether it's tonal or there's a specific reason for it. So Leanne's out there and she covers up the cameras. I thought that was interesting. She covers up the camera. My initial thought was that she was doing it because she just didn't want Dorothy to see her comings and goings, but
well,
maybe
you're half right. Good night.
We're on point tonight, people.
So Yeah, I thought that was very telling that,
I'll see you next week.
Thank you and good night.
Very telling that Leanne's like, what, where are your drugs? I want some drugs.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's so funny to me.
Leanne's like, I
What?
got rid of him. Why, you junkie? And then when there are no drugs to be had, it's sit down, pull down your pants. I'm going to distract myself with something else.
Do you think that she absorbs like other people's energy, like whatever it is that sort of feeds them becomes something that feeds her, like with Julian, drugs and sex, with Sean, the cooking and the.
I don't think it doesn't seem like she can facilitate all those things. With Julian specifically, probably, yeah. But everything else is like a little more ethereal. Unless she's like doing spells like she had been previously. But Sean just seems to kind of be happening.
So you're thinking that maybe it wasn't so much that she was seducing Julian to control him so much as it was she was trying to make herself feel something?
Or to numb herself from the,
It's probably both. Or one is she's, being human and then by way of that, because we'll see later.
But I think she wants to maintain control over Julian, stay close to the Turners. Maybe there's the pregnancy thing of wanting to have his baby so she can, be even more meshed in the Turner family or whatever. But I just saw it as wanting to numb herself, wanting to forget, wanting to feel good.
Now, Dorothy's watching, which is a little weird.
Gross. It's her brother.
Very gross. What do you think she made of that? Like, I man, I don't know. She just lingered a little long on.
That's what I mean.
It's just another. It's like an extension of her being aggravated with the milk. It's just like like what has happened? Like I'm losing all control of my situation.
It's betrayal. She
But she already knows that though.
Right? Like she knows Julian.
Well, she saw the milk kink last week. So.
And watched them go up the stairs together.
And come down.
Later. Yeah.
It seems like a weird point to make. I just think it's strange to keep driving that home because, whether or not you want it to happen, it's happening. And it's like,
exactly.
You must kind of know what's going on in your house. Like, don't let it happen, but don't be like,
right.
No one's listening to you, Dorothy.
Yeah.
Well, and that feeds into the whole kind of point of the episode is that Dorothy's getting more and more paranoid. Everyone's against me. Leanne is,
she's losing control.
Everyone on her side, and everyone's, turning against me.
Yeah. So Dorothy, like you said, she's feeling like she's losing control. She's spinning out. So we wake up the next morning and Sean has made her this beautiful breakfast. I'm sure he felt like it was her favorite breakfast. They all are. He spent hours on this breakfast.
Yeah, he's used to it.
And she was like,
beef, South African beef jerky and caviar. I forget what it's called, but the Dutch translation is literally buttocks and tongue.
Oh, I was wondering what it was. Okay.
Biltong?
Buttocks and tongue. Those are the two cuts of meat that make up that type of jerky.
Yeah.
The dried meat.
So that happens, and she's not having it.
No.
He does sort of.
I noticed that Dorothy accepted a cup of coffee that Sean poured for her.
Oh, they were trying to. They were going to get along for a second there. That was a little olive branch for like half a second.
So,
and provided he made the coffee, I think otherwise that's a problem because we did still continue to see the repeating motif. One of the things that we noticed was during that sequence, and just sidebar, I think if I had cereal and there were that many bugs of that nature in my cereal, I don't know that I would have just walked away. I also probably would have needed to go throw up. That was disgusting.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot going on, but I don't know why they don't panic and get more upset about what is going on with the house.
He didn't from the cupboards and start examining and dumping,
right,
and freaking out and calling an exterminator.
Well, that's probably they're like he's always cooking, so maybe they have cereal just to have cereal and forget about it. It could make sense of that. But he was fine with the termites too. He was like they didn't even talk about that before. It was a chaos situation, and then it's like, oh well, handfuls of termites.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I remember the few times that I saw a house in our neighborhood that had been infested with termites. I mean, people were were cleared out. They had, like, it was tented. I mean, it was a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
So
And they're
at
hard
any
to get
rate,
rid of. Yeah.
I didn't want to ignore that moment, but yeah, Leanne sort of slides out of the house in her athleisure wear with her hair in a little bit of a ponytail. And this is, interesting, I just think, as she evolves. But I think the key moment about that moment was she has an exchange with Roscoe on the street, and then goes to the encampment. And so he handed her something, and she slides into a tent, and she's got that pink water bottle with her again. So I don't know, just something to point out in terms of tracking what's going on with the liquids.
I thought that was a really good catch, because I didn't notice that, especially on the water bottle part.
What's going on with the Roscoe?
And what's going on with Roscoe? No kidding.
Yeah, he seems to be part of the camp now.
Whether he has interest or who knows.
He's no longer just observing. He appears to be on terms with them somehow.
He's up to something.
I mean, maybe it's possible that they are trying to make sure that they're prepared should the cult come back and bring the war that she seems to have thought that they would bring.
What is the patience with all this is what I want to know. Like, if you have such a overreaching power over so many people, or at least enough of, you're only going after certain, it doesn't, I mean, I know, that's the things, but like him and Aunt May and do anything.
Alicia, you've theorized about the rings that Papa Turner wears and Julian wears, and possibly some other society or sect working with or against the Turners.
Right.
And I wondered if maybe Dr. Mackenzie was part of that group, and wondered if that's just where my mind went immediately. Maybe if he had done something to Heart Guy, as I call him, who's now missing.
Well, I definitely think that is possible that Mackenzie is part of that group, especially the way that he exchanged non-pleasantries with Julian.
What was Julian's line of the week?
Oh, it's raining shit.
That also, but
that got me good.
Dr. Mackenzie, you pickleballed fuck.
That's a good too, yeah.
Which replies, nice to see you too, Julian.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't think that it is. I think it's certainly a possibility, probably a strong possibility. Now, in terms of the cult guy, I don't know that was interconnected. I mean, I do think it's possible that the war, it's a war that's happening between the defunct cult members that have left and are now following Leanne, and the Church of the Lesser Saints, or
so maybe first casualty.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And also I was thinking too about the images that we've seen in that notebook, the two that we haven't seen yet.
The fire.
Yeah, it did. When I saw her, the sketch where she's sort of lording over the city, where she's kind of standing looking out.
Yeah.
It did kind of make me think about how at the end of season 2, when the lights went out and we saw all the lights go out down the block and it went black. Just that she does have that kind of reaching power. And so I wonder if perhaps we're going to end the season with one of those images, or those two images that we have yet to see happen.
Someone on Reddit said that they could see the hand with the hook in that drawing of with the dragon, or what looks like a dragon.
I'm gonna have to take another look at that.
I looked, I couldn't see it, but that
I didn't catch that either.
So something's going on there.
There's a lot of something going on, or not.
And so, while Leanne's out there, Dorothy begins to go searching through Leanne's room again.
She plants the baby monitor in the dollhouse,
which I love. The dollhouse has been mentioned, but not really utilized or drawn attention to up until this episode. So I like that.
And you can see dollhouse furniture strewn around Leanne's room. Not just in the dollhouse, but
my other question was the room that she put it in. What room was that? Like in their house?
It looked like the living room, or like a room off of the living room, but may have been Leanne's room in the dollhouse.
Okay. Yeah, it was hard to tell. I couldn't really tell like what room it was in their house, if it was one that, if it looked like one of them. Again, with that monitor, I just still go back to the fact that that monitor is just not in any way a modern monitor.
No, but it's been key in a number of scenes, like the end of season 2.
Yeah. So Dorothy is flipping through her notebook, but she also finds her Bible. And so Liz, you did some really great just kind of research on that scene and how maybe some of what we see in the Bible is being used in the story. And so yeah, would you want to share some of that with us?
Sure. Every time we see someone looking at the cameras, I look at the timestamp on the camera, and it always correlates to some passage from the Bible. In this episode, we've got a couple camera screenshot numbers that I looked up, and then I also looked up the Bible passage that was opened when Dorothy opens the Bible and finds the drawings that Leanne has put in there. So all of the biblical passages, they seem to be telling a linear story. The first one relates to that famous phrase, Jesus wept, which is about when Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. And then I believe the second one relates to when the council of all the religious figures in Jerusalem meet after Jesus raises Lazarus. They're deciding Jesus's fate, and they want him dead. Basically, they decide to put out a warrant. The rule is to find Jesus and have him arrested and tried, and they already know that they're going to have him crucified. And then I don't know if this is from the Bible page or from another camera shot number, but the very last one is about the overall meaning of Lazarus's rising and Jesus's execution, or crucifixion on the cross, with the whole point being that Jesus died for our sins. In this one page I found, or site on the internet, it's talking about why are bad guys allowed to get away with bad things? And why does God let bad things happen? And the whole point is, God had this plan and allowed Jesus to be crucified so that when we sin, we can be forgiven. There's a part in the story about when Jesus' disciples are kind of giving testimony to the fact that Jesus was a miracle worker and did great things. And the religious leaders are saying, you guys are crazy. You must be drunk. You don't know what you're talking about. And this all made me think about Dorothy and Leanne, and, Leanne forgiving Dorothy, and Dorothy trying to make Leanne look crazy, and Leanne making Dorothy look crazy, but then forgiving her in the end, showing her forgiveness.
Yeah, she definitely does. So you feel like Lazarus is Jericho, right?
Yeah. The miracle that performed. And Dorothy doubles down the way the religious leaders double down, and this isn't a miracle, this is heresy. Not that Dorothy knows about Jericho's resurrection, but she's seeing Leanne do these things that like possibly having something to do with Isabel's death.
Right.
And instead of seeing it as something that could be helping, it's something bad, and Leanne's crazy. So
no, I think that's especially it also takes me back to thinking about them walking through the encampment and how they're talking about how he's a miracle.
Yeah.
Everybody's perfect.
And he's perfect. Right.
The card that Dorothy finds in the Bible, it's to Granddad.
Yes. For you, Granddad, with love on your birthday. Like what?
So, in Leanne's perfect world, Papa Turner would be her grandfather. And we know that we believe she used to use the Bible for her spell work. She wrote Sean's name down the Bible, and then the splinters happened. What if she had something to do with Papa Turner turning the interview on Dorothy, so that Dorothy's the one being looked at for commitment?
Which I think I think that we pretty much, it certainly seemed to be happening. I knew when he drank the drink that Leanne brought him, that when Frank did that last week, I knew that Frank was going to turn on Dorothy.
Yeah.
That everybody at that point had drunk the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So to speak.
And that could have explained why Courtney looked angry or peeved at Dorothy.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
Just kind of like a blanket, Dorothy's bad.
Yeah.
Leanne is good.
And crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Dorothy starts to spin out and she's freaking out and she starts calling her dad repeatedly.
Mhm.
Okay. So we got to talk about this scene, y'all. And it's going to get weird. When I was first watching that scene, it just felt like we were watching different time periods to me.
It's very,
And go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it's very dreamlike and very like, you know,
Right.
fractured in that way.
Well, and it's so dark too. It's so dark, and we just see sort of,
Oh,
so
it's like
she's calling him, and then it goes dark, and that darkness is very ambiguous. Is that darkness meaning that she fell asleep? Is the darkness meaning that we're jumping to another time? Is it meaning
she gets up and it's, you know, 2:02 and she checks the phone.
She's
So-
woken by a noise from the baby monitor.
Right.
But there are also all those noise, the banging and the heavy footsteps
right?
coming from above. And what struck me is that we know that Sean was away on the night shoot. However, it felt different, as you were saying, Alicia. It felt to me as if we were back in that episode,
Right.
Jericho.
Yeah.
When Dorothy's alone in the house with the baby.
Yeah.
And
no, I felt that way too.
It felt like a different time.
Yeah, I agree. And the banging, just to kind of sidebar off of that, that's happened repeatedly.
Yeah.
But what, I do remember that scene from season 1 where Dorothy's in the shower and she hears this like weird pipe noises and it sounds like there's pipes banging around. And then the water kind of stops and she's looking up and she's listening and then it starts again and she shakes it off and they continue. It's about in the shower. And that's just one specific instant, but it happens repeatedly. So I think that, that raises an important question of where are those noises coming from? Are those noises coming from people being in this house, like we've talked about, without them being noticed and seen? Or could this be that Dorothy is hearing things that, is she in some kind of coma or state where we're existing in her mind and seeing what's going on in her mind, but she's hearing what's actually going on, noises outside of her subconscious,
right? Ambient noises, as if she were in a hospital somewhere,
right? Yeah.
And she's in her mind palace of repression, that we're hearing what's going on in the hospital or around her in the real world,
right?
Unquote.
Yes, exactly.
And also, who would be that loud at 2 a.m?
Well, if you were in a hospital, if you were in a hospital, and I think that it could stand to reason that, I know like nurses and whatnot, they come in and out all through.
Right. Early checks. No, I'm saying, let's say it's real time, real world, and Dorothy's in the house and it's just her and Leanne and Jericho and Sean's doing his night shoot. Why Leanne wouldn't be that noisy at 2 a.m. She wouldn't be stomping around and banging on pipes and making the kind of cacophony that we hear Dorothy hearing.
But okay. So do you think what do you think Dorothy thinks at that moment? Do you think that Dorothy thinks that like it's Leanne walking around in the attic making noise? Or do you think that she's, I don't know. Yeah. What would she make of that?
What would anyone make of that? I think one would be frightened and
I would
paranoid.
be, yeah, exactly. I don't know. What do you think, Aunt?
No, it is pretty strange and it's hard to, and then like how there's a lot of distance between, the attic and, I know a house makes noise, people move around, you can kind of tell if people are like in a place, especially if you're like familiar with your own situation. It's hard to, it could just be a catalyst of things. It could be Leanne, setting off that sequence of events, making noise, or it could just be the house itself.
Yeah.
Coming to whatever it is that's affecting the house that way.
Oh, that's true. Like just even the fact that it's falling apart.
Yeah, if the basement's cracking and bugs and termites.
Yeah. So the noises aren't people, but the noises is the house, like as the character. Again, we go back to that house being the character. Okay, yeah, I like that.
Well,
maybe
the house is being awfully noisy, but also I had the closed captioning on, and it says footsteps approaching, and footsteps.
Well, then Leanne, that's interesting because then later Leanne just kind of appears noiselessly.
Right.
She's good at that.
Watching Dorothy.
When Dorothy tells her father that she has to call him back, you also see the footsteps approaching. If things were on normal terms, or if everything was normal, you would think that Dorothy would say, Leanne, be quiet, or Jericho's sleeping, or it's 2 in the goddamn morning.
He's up there. What's going on? Yeah.
It's all very strange.
Yeah. So, the fact that it's 2 a.m. when the phone lights up the room, 2:02 brings us back to the fact that we know that is when Dorothy discovered Jericho. And I don't know, that conversation that she has with her dad, like in the bedroom, before she goes outside, to me, almost like in some ways, I almost felt like perhaps that was a conversation that they had that night. Because he says, I've been trying to get a hold of you. I've been trying to get a hold of you all night. Well, I think there could be an argument for the fact that like that conversation's already happened. That maybe perhaps we're seeing a snippet of what happened then, or a reenactment in real, in this moment of maybe what happened at that point, or maybe it's just in her head. I don't know.
Reflecting back to that time.
Yeah.
And
but I don't think it being 2 a.m. is a coincidence.
No.
At all.
And then what we saw on the phone, it says September 15th.
September 15th. Write it down, people. Remember the date and keep your eyes peeled. September 15th. Okay, so here's the connect. I don't know what it means, but here it is. So September 15th is also the date on Leanne's phone in episode 1 of season 3, Donkey, when she's sitting in the basement. Tuesday, September 15th. Now, the phone on the bed, it now has a different bedspread. They changed bedspreads in there more than I've ever seen anybody change bedspreads in my whole life. So, so so let's say we're playing with time, because it seems like that's happening. We're seeing pieces, snippets from different points in time, or not, or we're in a loop. But she goes outside to talk to her dad, and when she goes outside and that conversation ends, she hangs the phone up, and if you look on the phone, you can see the little icon where the calendar is on the iPhone, and it's the 3rd.
I pulled up a calendar for March, because theoretically we're in March of 2020. That's what I was going to ask. Okay. Yeah, we're March 2020. I pulled up the calendar, and that would have been a Tuesday.
That was a Tuesday. So what the actual fuck is going on?
Time is a strange thing.
So here's what so I'm gonna put this out there, that it seems as though perhaps inside the house is always September 15th, even if they pretend like it's not. So now or are we seeing pieces from different days? I don't know. Like, okay.
The only thing I have wrong with seeing it being a fractured of the same, like everything is so linear for it to have been different pieces of different.
Exactly. Like you can't make me believe that that scene of Leanne being in that basement is this same day. So that's why I'm more inclined to believe that like something is paused on the phone. Like there's something, whether it's like messing with technology, or they're hitting the same day over and over again, or it doesn't matter what the day is, or was that a day that Dorothy was committed before? Like, I don't know, but
there's some connection somewhere.
What's the meaning of that date? September 15th. Why is that important?
And before you ask, I went and re-looked at the calendar from the previous episode to see if there was anything on September 15th on Dorothy's calendar, and there's nothing there. The entirety of September is blank. Nothing on it.
So something happened, maybe.
So we were looking back at the
but when they're outside of the house, the phones reflect different dates.
Ooh, I don't know why.
When Sean's on his phone and you see it and it's a different date, it's whatever it's supposed to be.
I wonder if
outside of the house, we see the phones and they reflect different dates, but inside the house, September 15th.
So do you think, I mean, going on absolutely nothing but what you just said, you think it's like also another symbol of her not being able to let go of or like contend with her grief over Jericho? Because she hasn't accessed it yet, and not that it's like messing with time, but like maybe it's keeping, like it's another just like a little not a metaphor, like a, but it's not a motif because that's like a certain number of what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Okay, wait, let's think about this. Okay, when Leanne arrived at the house, could that have been the date she arrived at the house?
That's possible. No, but what I was saying was maybe it's like she's just not trapped in this one specific day, like in her head. Just like it's like a marking point for like where everything stopped for her, Dorothy, rather.
But you would think that would be like when Jericho died in August.
That would make more sense, yeah. Unless there was some other.
If Dorothy is indeed in the hospital, maybe that was the date that she entered.
Could be, yeah.
The hospital. So that would be the date that everything stopped.
Yeah, maybe she was committed on September 15th.
I mean, that to me makes the most sense if we're going to go with this idea of Dorothy's created this mind palace.
If it wasn't that, if we didn't go that direction, right, that she wasn't, that's not what we're looking at, then I do think perhaps maybe September 15th is the date that Leanne arrived.
Yeah. I like
and
that
that's
one.
Why it doesn't change, because since she arrived there, she sort of froze time within this house.
And it's canon per M. Night Shyamalan and Tony Pascal that Leanne and the house are intertwined, that they're connected.
Also, when all the talk about like the baby and how old is the baby and 9 months and 18 months and all of that, again, revisits the question of why is that even confusing in itself.
What's in the tin?
Well, I know on Reddit, it's very popular, this idea that Leanne is a fallen angel, that we're seeing a almost literal interpretation of Satan and what happened to the fallen angels. It's very popular right now. People are talking about Leanne being a fallen angel and Servant being almost a literal retelling of how Satan fell to hell. I'm not really on board with that theory. I think that all the religious stuff is it's allegorical. I don't know if that's the right word, but
no, that's what I'm with you. I agree.
That Shyamalan and Pascal are using religious themes woven into the story, but I don't think it's a literal retelling.
Right. To help explain. Yeah. I would tend to feel the same way.
Yeah, it's not really specifically pointing to anyone.
Right.
Not that it needs to be specific to be, doing something, but it seems like she's something other.
Theory, I guess, that we sort of goes along with all of this that we've been discussing was just following that. We have the scene in the living room where Dorothy is singing to Jericho and Leanne is watching.
Right. And Dorothy doesn't notice. Right. Even though she walks right, she should have been spotted in her peripheral vision.
Yeah.
And Leanne is even in the light. Dorothy's in the dark.
Oh, it's so good.
And light.
I like when the camera slides back and forth and then she's just like there. It's like, oh, okay.
What did you make of that? I mean, because for me, that was another moment in this episode where I just had that feeling of like Leanne and Dorothy being one and the same.
It's almost like predatory. Like you're like waiting to like not attack, but like you're just like observing the
observation. We talked about observation, and what ran through my head was that it was another one of those out of time moments. I felt like we were flashing backwards to the Jericho episode, as if Leanne were projecting herself to observe Dorothy.
Yeah,
but then we're brought back to supposed reality because she's overhearing Dorothy, singing "Hush, Little Baby," and then she repeats that in the end of the episode.
Right, which kind of calls to the Dorothy, like the theme of like Leanne trying to replace Dorothy almost.
Yes.
Yeah. But I guess that's why I just get this feeling that Leanne and Dorothy become more and more enmeshed and one and the same the more it goes along, you know?
Yeah.
And so it does make me wonder, like, if this was a situation where Dorothy is already been committed and this is happening, like we're seeing this story inside her mind, which also speaks to like her being an unreliable narrator. Like the story is like this, that basically that most of this happened. It's just we're seeing it through the lens of Dorothy thinking about it while she is being treated somewhere.
Or if it's all happening in Dorothy's mind, like the video that we did of, you know, what every character is a representation of Dorothy, of some facet of.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think you mentioned The Others as well, as another sort of.
Yeah, the movie with Nicole Kidman where, well, spoilers. Nicole Kidman and her children are, they feel that they're being haunted, and it turns out that they're the ghosts in a house.
Yeah.
So all the rattling and the noises they're hearing are, you know, objective, real noises of the people that are in this haunted house, haunted by Nicole Kidman and her children.
And I've wondered that too, yeah, that when we hear these noises in their house, that like I wonder and drawers are open and stuff like that, like yeah, it's made me wonder if they that it's not that they have ghosts among them, but that they're like staying in this just because of all the clues that lead us to believe that they're not from modern times, you know. Yeah, that's certainly part of, I think, the wheel of possible theories that
or the idea, and you brought it up earlier, some sort of kind of karmic time loop, or, you know, the idea of maybe Dorothy has to redo something.
Yeah, if you're gonna play with that aspect of it, sure. Just it's, I guess, you know, like going through. No, but this is a weird, different thing than like a constant like. She's not really learning very much, and it seems to be like not that would be in her control, but it seems to have like there are too many facets to it for it to be that specific of a entrapment, I think.
Well, that reminds me of one of Dorothy's best lines this week when she's trying to entrap Leanne into meeting with Dr. Mackenzie. And she's telling Leanne about how she and Sean were in couples counseling.
Oh, yes. What a scene.
I used to be so controlling and everything had to be perfect. And Dorothy says, she's talking about when she and Sean were in couples counseling. And she says, you know, back then I was trying to please everyone, trying to get every little thing just right. And then Leanne says, isn't that how you are now? To Dorothy's reply, it's a process.
Yeah.
So the arrival of Dr. Mackenzie, and what did you feel about that whole deal with Dr. Mackenzie and what was happening there? Did you kind of feel like that was, I don't know, well, he seems a little like aloof and sort of confused as to me, so I thought it was an interesting character.
Oh no, yeah, he's I mean, clearly a family friend or whatever. Maybe he helped them when they were kids, maybe even, you know, Frank and whatever the mother's name happens to be, if they forget to that. So he's just one of those people. It's interesting how they set it up. You know, like it's another week, another you know, script trick.
Yeah.
Julian's response is so telling.
What? Say that again, Liz?
Julian's response is so telling. He immediately flips out. Why would you call that guy?
Yeah, because he's like, come on already. Like, it's got to be like, you know, old style. I know the feeling, but I can't like convey it.
Well, it just makes me think that something bad happened to their mother when they were young.
I wouldn't even say, yeah.
Or maybe like he tried to counsel them in their grief after their mother died, and he was just terrible.
And he's like full of shit, or like not quite listening or not getting it. But anyway,
I was thinking that maybe Dorothy's mother was going through something, and he had her committed. That they saw him doing wrong by the family. That they saw their father completely mishandled the situation, with the help of this Dr. Pickleball fuck.
Wow,
And that's
that's
why
interesting.
response is so heightened and immediate. Why would you rely on dad? Why would you let her see that doctor? I'm going to call Sean. No, 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 no.
So Dr. Mackenzie is wearing a ring, but it is on his wedding finger. So it's hard to tell if it has the same type, design weight to it. I'm going to, keep looking, but.
The same ring as Papa Turner and Julianne.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it is, but he's only wearing one ring. So I'm going to see if I can get a better shot.
This episode, ridiculous.
Also, Leanne in that burgundy, but she's wearing in the promotional.
It's a power color.
Yeah.
Oh, and she certainly flipped the script in this one.
Oh yes.
When they pull that back and reveal that they're gonna have Dorothy take a time out, it's masterclass. It's absolute ridiculous.
Oh, guess what? Mannequin watch, and the hand is back into the symbol.
Oh, really?
Yep, I just saw it.
So Leanne feels the need to protect herself or be protected.
It's when Dorothy is in the bedroom, right at while Leanne is in the counseling session, and Dorothy is kneeling down in front of the mannequin, and you can see it plain as day.
That's interesting.
Very interesting.
I thought it was interesting that Dr. Mackenzie referred to Leanne as that woman or the woman you have living in your home versus the nanny.
Yeah.
You have a fixation on this woman that you have living with you.
Right.
That's
not the way that he talked to Dorothy, to me, it was just very telegraphing that this was not going to go well for Dorothy.
You know what else is interesting? You know what else I think is interesting? Why would, we know why, but if Leanne is a problem for Dorothy and Dorothy's, fixated or whatever, wouldn't the answer still be remove Leanne?
Right, exactly.
So she's twisted this. Well, that's fine, but if you bring a doctor into it's just interesting how it was set up that way.
Right, the doctor would probably say, yeah.
It would still be I don't know, get this girl at the house.
Right. So who is this doctor? It's either who is this doctor or
no, what is Leanne doing? What is
Leanne? Leanne's controlling it.
Yeah, whatever she said. Well, what she probably said to him was, well, you saw the pictures. She did some of that to me. She tried to bury me.
Right.
I'm just trying to protect this baby, worried about her.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But it was already kind of that way before. She just reinforced what Frank assumed, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Even though we didn't see that.
Right. Yeah, and we didn't see what happened in the room at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yep.
As someone who's worked with commitments and, involuntary hold, if a psychiatrist says, this person in need of a commitment or an involuntary, a 30 or 72-hour hold, an ED, emergency detention because of danger to it. It doesn't have to be danger to self and others. It's self or others.
Right.
But, if he deems Dorothy a danger to others, i.e. Jericho, you can't just turn it around and say, okay, family, you're going to watch her. That's okay.
Right. They have their legal precedents, right?
Bound.
Yeah.
They're bound. And the reason for that, what a commitment or detention is saying, this person within, whether they're alone or in a family, that their environment is not safe. It's not safe enough.
Whether themselves or
you're not equipped to just step it up and watch her more or better in lieu of a commitment or a detention or a hold. So that just it completely went against reality.
Interesting. So do you think that speaks to him not being legitimate, or like, is he a quack, or is this just he's being a friend here, even though he's...
I think it was friend. I think it was
Like
doing
his-
he was doing whatever Frank wanted him to do.
yeah,
You can do anything
that
with
was
money, and yeah,
Dorothy under control.
right.
right.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that, there's been so much talk about Dorothy needs to wake up,
Right.
and what does he prescribe? Trazodone
Oh, yeah.
to sleep.
Nice.
She's very stressed.
And if we're gonna go with the theory of this is all happening in Dorothy's head, that would again be keeping her in this space where she's safe.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to come to terms with the reality of what happened.
Right. Yeah. You're
Work
right.
out.
It's true.
And my last thing, the very last shot, when Dorothy's collapsed on the bathroom floor, that bathroom, and she, clips the baby carrier back to her chest. It looks like she's in a straitjacket.
Yeah. That's true.
Pretty
What are
sad.
you thinking, Aunt?
What if it's been this way the whole time? I mean, I don't know. But what if it's been set up this whole time? Because, like, the whole outset of this season was supposed to be like, oh, they're after Leanne. And then, like, nearly almost immediately, she's like, no, I'm fine. Maybe it's not like a double play. Maybe she's just fine.
Mm.
I mean, I know she's not fine, but, like,
Yeah, no, I see what
maybe
you're saying.
maybe there's been a through line of, like, there was reason to believe before that she wouldn't have been committed. Not that we,
Yeah.
it's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think
And that bathroom, I mean, I think it's also, we were talking last week about, or, on the last video about like the parallels between season 1 stuff and season 3 stuff. But also it brings me back to the last time somebody was in that bathroom and we saw them spiraling like that. It was Julian in the penultimate episode of season 2. So still in the same.
You mean the very end?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the very end.
When Leanne is singing. Yeah. Oh boy.
And Dorothy's in that bathroom and she's freaking out, and
Mhm.
it's almost like, okay, I felt like in that moment Dorothy was almost there.
Mhm.
She went in that bathroom and she's having that moment, and she was almost about to see what she needed to see. And if you think about it too, when Julian was in there and he OD'd and he died, he saw Jericho in heaven, basically.
That's right.
Said,
As far as
right?
we know, yeah.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
Yeah. So Dorothy then is now the one in that bathroom having this moment where she's melting down and spiraling.
Mhm.
And the baby carrier's like almost all the way off her. And it's
Mhm.
almost like if she just committed to sitting with that just for a little bit more,
It might have.
yeah, she was going to remember, but instead she put it back on because she wasn't ready yet. She decided
Mhm.
she wasn't ready to let
Me-
go of the fantasy and
Yeah,
said,
and then-
put the baby or back carrier back on.
And then you have Leanne, like,
Mhm.
usurping her position, at least, in the
Exactly.
moment. And then,
Yeah,
like, gaining the full
right.
rest of the house control.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so these roles have flipped so drastically.
Mm.
Um
They haven't. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, that bathroom, and I don't know, there's something about it that's important. And obviously we saw other characters. We talked, I've been in there a while, like coming in and out of it, but this is the first person we've actually seen in there since Julian OD'd.
Mm.
So I thought
Do you
that was
think
pretty
they'll
significant.
emerge with clarity the way
I mean,
Julian did?
No. Oh, you know what? I think maybe that leads into what I think is happening next. That could.
yes. So let's talk about our predictions for what might happen next. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it seems like, I mean, based on, again, not too very much, but it seems like Dorothy might make an attempt to ingratiate herself in the cult, whether it be with the unhoused or I mean, I guess there's no one else to access immediately, but maybe Aunt May.
Yeah. Yep.
Like when you have nowhere else to go, like you like
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
against or go with whatever is.
You can't beat them, join them.
And that exactly. Well put. And then who knows what the hell that means.
Right? There was so much talk of a war. And I think that maybe that will be what we see is sort of the Dorothy picking her side. You know, all season, like sort of people have been picking sides. And so perhaps everybody's on Leanne's side as well as that, you know, camp cult. Maybe Dorothy's like, you know, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I don't think
she'll be on the other team.
I don't think she'll fully like submit to the whole thing, at least not yet. She'll like go in there with the intention of being like a reporter and like try to like
an
maybe
infiltrator.
Right.
Infiltrator. Ooh, yes.
Much like everybody. That was great too. That was a moment too when she was like, she's like a worm. She gets under your like that. That's was right. Those parallels with Uncle George.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Total
And
breakdown.
the other thing that I was thinking is that we haven't I mentioned earlier, we haven't seen those pictures occur, but each season finale has has a reveal of an important person. Now in season 1 it was Aunt May. Season 2 it was Aunt Josephine. So these two important like big women. And now next week is called Mama.
Yep.
Which I have thoughts on as well. But also we've been hearing this referral to him.
Right.
Him and the Hook Man. So I wonder if we might actually get to see who him really is.
I was going to say, with the title being Mama,
or
that if we're going to see another Aunt Josephine figure, you know, Leanne's mother, what if she's alive?
Ooh, or what if it's Dorothy, like fully becoming Leanne's mother figure, that mannequin?
Ooh,
something.
Because does the mannequin represent Leanne's mother? I mean, that was sort of the initial implication.
Yeah.
And then we see, you know, Dorothy in front of it in this episode and dressed like it.
Yeah.
She's dressed, I mean, they're in the same colors. They're looking the same direction.
Woo, careful, rabbit holes ahead.
On that note, did we leave anything out?
I don't really think so.
I don't think so either.
Leanne, Dorothy, try on more of my clothes.
You know, she takes the medicine at the end, which I just was like, no, Dorothy, don't do it.
Don't fall asleep.
Don't.
Well, and how convenient that he had that sample pack in his briefcase, you know.
Also, I found it interesting too, I found it interesting seeing sort of Dorothy being looked at by all these men, you know, who are basically telling her that she's crazy.
They're hysterical.
Yeah. And a tale of this time, you know, so I thought that was really just an interesting commentary on how women have, you know, been treated by men, particularly even doctors who, you know, are men, who it's like, if you go in and you say, I'm feeling this and this is happening, you get questions like, you know, about your mood and your hormones and your this, that, and the other, you know, as though you're
like you don't even know your own.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
it's always anxiety. You're anxious, and that your problem is that you've got a fixation on another woman.
Well, I think they set up what we kind of started this, and Aunt felt, you know, pretty satisfied, I think, by this episode, but I feel like this conversation really took an interesting turn too, as to where this could be going in the finale. So
I'm glad it opened up a little bit more. I mean, I feel like they could have ended it here, not to be, but like it was very like,
because what does happen next with Dorothy, you know what I mean? It's like she could just accept that and then
And then
Okay.
that could be your whole, yeah. I mean,
That's-
there's so many more like little stray things, but yeah, it was very solid episode. Best
I
so
do find
far.
myself wondering where we're headed for the final season.
Yeah, I have no idea. Halloween. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. I
Answer.
do, but that said, I believe that like it's been said by, I don't know, maybe M. Night, I'm not sure. I think said that, by the end of the season, like at the end of the season finale, we're going to be looking at each other and going, okay, well, where do we go next?
I feel that way now.
I feel that way already. Yeah.
But I
exactly.
also feel better about the overall of it because it seems like, I mean, it always seems like whatever, but it seems like they know. I don't know that they're being, you know, vague when they say that they know what they're doing. It seems like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not even that I like it, it just seems like it's making sense and it keeps doing, even if it is doing that same kind of a trick, it's like working very well.
Yeah. There are things that are like coming together and repeating and getting more specific in a way that lets you go, okay, like I'm not crazy.
No. There's at least a through line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've been getting a lot more callbacks to other episodes, and this season I think has been my favorite.
Yeah.
But
This is definitely
enjoyed this season so far.
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite episode, I think.
Oh, episodes.
I think.
Well, it's so beautifully done, hang on. Well, what's the minute process?
Yeah, this season, but this episode for sure. Like,
Really?
so good.
I think Hive and Ring were my two standouts.
Last week too, for that matter.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I really loved Leanne in Fish. Do you want to say Grace?
Oh,
Nancy sucks.
Nancy does suck.
Nancy sucks.
Goodbye.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I had said I was looking for something I said that I thought was of like kind of a really interesting articulation of what I thought this episode really highlighted, which is that, I really think this story, one of the things I really love about this show and about this story is that I feel like it operates on two like major levels, so you have the mystery of what's going on with what the F of all of it, what's going on here. But then there's also the societal commentary on, mental health and women and motherhood and patriarchal control over crazy women, like I was just talking about. And I just think it's really like interesting how they interweave it together so brilliantly.
And themes of childhood, adolescence, different stages of life.
Yeah. Addiction,
yeah. Relationship.
Yeah.
Great show.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this one.
That might do it, yeah.
Might do it. Lots to think about and be excited about as we go into the season 3 finale, Mama, which will be airing very soon. And then
too soon. Too soon and not soon enough.
So sad that the season's almost over. But even though I'm sad, I'm also kind of excited because it'll free us up to do some of the other stuff I think that we wanted to do as well, in terms of like doing some funny videos and also maybe doing some other like, more concentrated videos on different theories. And then looking at another series or two that we might start diving into and doing recaps as well. So I'm sad that it's about to be over for this season, but I'm excited because I know we're gonna keep exploring this show and other stuff. So we hope you guys will stay with us.
Yeah.
All right. Aunt Liz, if you're not already subscribed,
oh no,
please subscribe so you make sure that you can get notifications anytime we drop a new video. Make sure to hit the bell as well so that those notifications get to you. You can follow us on TikTok at Servant Decoded, and also on Twitter at Decoded Servant. And yeah, again, if there's any comments you have, something you noticed that you wanted to draw attention to, a theory that you want us to dive into, please don't hesitate to comment below. And we always like reading them. And yeah, so I guess that's it for this one. Thank you guys so very much. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.